So good evening, everyone. And Lisa, again, thank you so much for organizing this. And it is really something that's necessary. Not only the panelists who are talking about services that are available for caregivers to maintain their loved ones at home, but also all of the people who are here and have tables out there that also have more information. The big challenge for me, because I'm a lawyer, is talking only for 10 or 15 minutes. So what I did was I prepared a handout, basically, of what I'm going to talk about. It looks like this, and it's out at our table. Louise, can you stand up? Louise is our community outreach director, and if you see her, she'll be able to give you this handout that I prepared. And I did that because there is a lot of information where elder law is concerned, and I'm only going to be able to give you a preview of the time that I have, and of course, take your questions. What I want to go over with you is basically an outline of essential estate planning for seniors and what caregivers need to know. What does your loved one need to have in their estate plan to protect themselves, to protect their resources, and to allow you to access the community services that you may need that, again, help you in keeping your loved one at home. I'm not going to go into who I am because there's a write-up about me, and Janet said who I was, but I am an elder law attorney, as is my partner, Colbert Grebas, and we only do elder law, which means that both Kevin and I and all of our support staff, we've dedicated our practice to serving the legal needs of seniors, so that's all we do, and we're fortunate to be able to do that because that's where our passion is. When we're talking about effective estate planning for seniors, we're looking at various areas of estate planning. Planning for the possibility of a future incapacity. Is there a time when I'm not able to make my own medical decisions and personal care decisions? Will a time come when I'm not able to manage my own finances, make my own legal decisions? We're talking about planning for death and how my assets will pass upon my death. And we're talking about planning for the possible need for long-term care in the future. Because that's what we see devastating most people's estates, is that need for long-term care that was not planned for, and how much assets a person can go through trying to pay for that care. So if we're talking about planning for incapacity, there's really two essential documents that should be a part of everybody's estate plan, and especially our seniors and the people that we're caring for. That is the financial power of attorney, where I can appoint an agent to make financial and legal decisions on my behalf if I become incapacitated, either cognitively or physically, unable to manage my own affairs. So I may cognitively be able to manage my own banking and balance my checkbook and all of the various things that I barely can actually do right now. But what if physically I wasn't able to get out to the bank? Or I wasn't able to pick up the phone because of a hearing impairment and talk to my life insurance agent or my other financial planners. I want to have someone in place that I've given that authority to make those decisions for me, to be able to go to the bank for me, to pay my bills, to talk to my insurance person, my financial advisor, and to make sure that my life continues to run smoothly, even if I'm not able to do that myself. And that's done through a financial power of attorney. The other document that's extremely important in planning for incapacity is the healthcare power of attorney. And that's a document where I name someone, my agent, to make medical and personal care decisions on my behalf if I am cognitively unable to do that myself. So the difference here is with the healthcare power of attorney by law, no one, even if I appointed them, can make medical decisions or personal care decisions for me unless I am determined to be incapacitated. But if that happens, then I want to have the person that I want to make those decisions, the person that hopefully I've had a discussion with and explained to them the kind of personal care and medical care that I would want to have. And in that same vein, I want to have an end-of-life directive as part of my healthcare power of attorney. This is a statement of my philosophy regarding end-of-life treatments. If I am in a terminal condition where death is imminent, or I am in a permanent state of unconsciousness, do I want to be kept alive by artificial means like mechanical respiration, tube feeding, things like that? Or do I want to let nature take its course and not have those implemented in that case? I include that philosophy in my healthcare power of attorney, so my agent, if he or she is called upon to make that kind of decision, is now my advocate as opposed to the person who was, quote, pulling the plug on mom or dad. So those are very important documents to have in place. The other document we talked about was planning for death, and that's the last will and testament. I memorialize in writing what I want to have happen to my stuff when I pass away. Who do I want to receive my home, my money assets, my personal belongings, and how do I want them to receive those? So I may have adult children, but what if one of my adult children fails to survive me? And now it's grandchildren who might inherit in that person's place. And are they minors? Or are they adults themselves, but they're only 18, 19 years old and maybe wouldn't manage resources too well? In that case, I might want to include a trust. So I'm dictating how people are going to receive the property that I am leaving to them. Also, I'm appointing the person that I want to manage my estate. So who's going to make sure my wishes are upheld, make sure my taxes are paid in my last death, and do all of the things that need to happen when someone passes away. And finally, I said I'd talk about planning for a long-term care need. So the first step in planning for a long-term care need is to understand where that care may happen, where we prefer it to happen. It can happen in a nursing home, which is the highest level of care that someone can need. It's really someone who needs 24 hours, 7 days a week, hands-on assistance with their activities of daily living. Dressing, bathing, feeding, toileting, ambulation, those kinds of things. That's the highest level of care. Most people will say, I don't want to go to a nursing home. It is a placement of last resort. But just in case, in our long-term care plan, or the long-term care plan for our loved one, we should know what facilities we would want our loved one to go to. So there might be, and there are many nursing homes in the area, but if I live in Dixon City, I may not want my loved one going to a nursing home in Carbondale because that's a very far drive for me. I might want them to be more local. So those are the kinds of thought processes we have in determining that. There are also alternatives to nursing home care that we should look into to understand whether that can be appropriate for our loved one if that need arises. There are things like telespon. Life Geisinger is another alternative and local to Lackawanna County. There are the waiver program through Area Agency on Aging, where we can get, your loved one may be able to get some assistance to have personal care come into the home. There are respite programs. There are a wide range of community programs out there to help our loved ones, help our caregivers to keep the loved ones at home if possible. And there's assisted living. And assisted living is, I guess, the midway point between staying at home or needing nursing home care. And again, there are many assisted living facilities or personal care homes in Lackawanna County. Some specialize in some things, and others are personal care homes that are just providing that personal care. People who need personal care level typically don't need that hands-on 24 hours a day assistance with their activities of daily living, but mostly things like meal preparation, housekeeping, some light help with their dressing and bathing, and then then we have our memory centers as well, like Oakwood Terrace, where they specialize in just memory care, people who are suffering from a form of dementia, and their need really arises by keeping them in a safe environment. So that's where care can happen, and we should be ready in case that care has to happen outside of the home. And then, of course, we have to wonder how this care will be paid for, because long-term care can be very expensive. There are government benefits available to help people pay for long-term care needs, but they will usually require, every one of them actually requires, income and resource limits. So how do people pay for long-term care? How many people think that Medicare will pay for someone's long-term care need? All right, good, smart audience. A lot of people do believe that, though. They don't look into other methods because they believe, since they have paid into the Medicare system and now they pay for their Part B premium and a supplemental insurance on top of that, that if they have a medical need, Medicare will pay for it. But Medicare does not agree, and Medicare is very limited when it will pay, and then when it does pay for nursing home care, it's limited to 100 days, and there is a copay in between that time. There's always paying privately, right? We can always reach into our savings every month, pay the nursing home bill, pay the home health bill, whatever that might be. You might be interested to know that nursing home care, on average, in the state of Pennsylvania, costs over $100,000 a year. It's actually $8,766 on average. So we can have higher room and board expenses, and we can have lesser, but mostly we have higher. There's also long-term care insurance, which is something that you would explore with your financial advisor or your insurance agent. Long-term care insurance is insurance that can be purchased in various forms to help insure against the need for long-term care in the future. The problem that Kevin and I see in our office, though, is that 99.9% of our clients don't have long-term care insurance. And by the time they're coming to us, it's usually out of their reach, because as we get older, the premiums for long-term care insurance, of course, get much more expensive. And there are some government benefit programs out there. The VA, the Veterans Administration, has a pension program for wartime veterans or surviving spouses of wartime veterans that can help offset the cost of home health as well as personal care homes. And we have medical assistance benefits for people who meet certain resource and in some cases income limits, if that's for home care. People can actually access medical assistance benefits to help pay for room and board at a nursing home or home and community-based services. The requirements for the medical assistance and the VA program is in this outline. If I were to go through that, I'd need another hour and a half, so I don't think that I have that. But it is in here for you to have. There's also ways for people to use estate planning to help them qualify for these kinds of public benefits. So if I can qualify for medical assistance benefits sooner, then I can help preserve more of my estate for myself, my own supplemental needs, for my spouse, if I have a spouse in the community, or to leave a legacy to my children or grandchildren or other loved ones. Planning for a long-term care need is best done in advance, meaning that I want to do this well before, at least 5 years before I would need nursing home care. And people have probably heard of the 5-year look back. That's a term that's out there in the community. It simply means that if I give away assets within 5 years of applying for medical assistance, I'm going to be ineligible for benefits. So the advanced type of planning that we do with family asset protection trusts is something we want to do in advance when we're in our 60s and 70s. But there is crisis crisis planning as well. Many clients come to us, and Kevin and I, this is probably our biggest pet peeve, and a client will come whose husband or other loved one is in a nursing home and they've been there for several months or a year, and they say, I didn't come sooner because when my loved one moved to the nursing home, everyone told me it was too late. There was nothing we could do to help protect the home, protect our loved one's life savings. That's not the case. There is always something that can be done through estate planning to help someone preserve their resources, their home from estate recovery, their life savings from a spend down. We call it crisis planning, and typically we're able to protect 50 to 60% of someone's estate through that kind of crisis planning. And again, you'll find that information in the outline. And as caregivers, you should know that there are caregiver support services out there through Area Agency on Aging, which is an excellent resource for our seniors and for people providing care for our seniors. But in particular is the caregiver support program, where monies are available, that's done through Area Agency on Aging, to help with your caregiving needs. There's money available to help make home modifications, for instance. Maybe your loved one needs a ramp to get into the home. Maybe strategically placed grab bars around the house or in the bathroom will help your loved one stay at home and prevent those falls, which can be so devastating. There's money available for those home modifications. I think it's up to $2,000, so it's significant. There's also money available on a monthly basis. I believe it's up to $200 to help with caregiving needs. Caregivers need time for themselves, even if it's just to go grocery shopping or to visit with some friends, to just be able to get out of the house and not have this all-consuming. So there's monies available to help with things like that, and you can access that through Area Agency on Aging. Oftentimes, when we provide care for a loved one, our loved one wants to pay us. And sometimes we've had to give up work, or that extra money can be really helpful, especially if the loved one moved into our home and now there's higher expenses with everything, utilities and food, etc. Whenever that happens, whenever a loved one wants to pay a caregiver, the caregiver and the loved one should enter into a caregiver agreement. So many of our clients have these agreements, but they're verbal, they're oral. They just said, I'm going to give you $500 a month to help me out with it, because you're caring for me. Very reasonable amount for the amount of time and effort that a caregiver is giving to their loved one. However, that is dangerous for future medical assistance purposes, because if someone applies for medical assistance to help them pay for nursing home care, remember that $8,766 a month, if the person applying was paying a caregiver without a contract in place, the county assistance office is going to look at those monies as a gift, which could cause a period of ineligibility for medical assistance benefits. So if you are caring for a loved one and your loved one wishes to pay you and you wish to accept that, you should have a caregiver agreement in place so that in the future you can prove to the county assistance office that, hey, this was an employer-employee situation. This was not care I was giving out of love and affection, which is the term they use to say that the money they gave was a gift to you, and the care you provided was out of love and affection. So that's one warning I'll want to provide to our caregivers. And that's what I wanted to talk about. I think I was well in my time, and I know that you want to do a question and answer.